The Trinity defies logic and reason. Christians profess that God is one being in three persons: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. This doctrine, central to mainstream Christianity, is rooted in biblical texts like Matthew 28:19, where Jesus commands baptism in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. The Nicene Creed, formulated in AD 325, further solidified this belief, declaring Jesus as true God from true God. However, the concept raises a logical conundrum. How can one entity simultaneously exist as three distinct persons without contradiction? To explore this, we must examine historical and textual evidence. The Council of Nicaea, convened by Emperor Constantine, was a pivotal moment in Christian history. It aimed to address the theological disputes that threatened to fracture the early church, particularly the Arian controversy. Arius, a priest from Alexandria, argued that Jesus, though divine, was not co-eternal with the Father. His views gained traction, prompting the Council's formulation of the Nicene Creed to affirm the co-equality of the Trinity. Yet this resolution didn't settle the debate, it only deepened the mystery. Philosophically, the Trinity challenges the principle of non-contradiction, which states that contradictory propositions cannot both be true in the same sense at the same time. If God is one, He cannot simultaneously be three distinct entities without violating this logical axiom. Richard Swinburne, a renowned philosopher of religion, attempts to reconcile this by suggesting that the persons of the Trinity share a divine essence. However, this explanation struggles to clarify how three distinct consciousnesses share a single essence without collapsing into modalism, the heretical view that God merely manifests in three modes rather than existing as three persons. Some argue that the Trinity is a divine mystery beyond human comprehension. St. Augustine, in his work De Trinitate, acknowledged the complexity of this doctrine, but insisted that faith bridges the gap where reason falters. Yet reliance on mystery as a defense may seem like an evasion rather than an explanation. The doctrine's defenders often cite 1 Corinthians 13:12, where Paul speaks of seeing through a glass darkly. This suggests that human understanding is limited and divine truths may elude full comprehension. However, the strongest counterargument rests on the claim that the Trinity is not a logical contradiction, but a unique category of being that transcends human logic. Theologian Karl Rahner proposed that the economic Trinity, God's interaction with the world, reflects the immanent Trinity, or God's inner life. This view posits that the Trinity is an expression of God's relational nature, offering a framework for understanding divine love. Yet this perspective still grapples with explaining how three persons remain one being without resorting to ambiguity. Consider historical evidence from church history. The early Christian community, as documented by scholars like Larry Hurtado, emphasized monotheism. The Shema, a central Jewish prayer from Deuteronomy 6:4, declares, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one." Early Christians rooted in Judaism faced the challenge of upholding monotheism while affirming Christ's divinity. The Apostle Paul, in Philippians 2:6-11, presents a Christ who, being in very nature God, did not cling to equality with God but took on human form. This poetic passage, possibly an early Christian hymn, hints at a complex understanding of Jesus' divine status without explicitly defining the Trinity. While the Trinity remains a cornerstone of Orthodox Christianity, historical and logical scrutiny reveals tensions that cannot be easily dismissed. The absence of explicit Trinitarian language in the earliest Christian texts suggests that the doctrine developed over time as theologians grappled with reconciling Jesus' divinity with monotheistic beliefs. Theologians like Bart Ehrman highlight how the New Testament offers a varied portrayal of Jesus' relationship with God, reflecting an evolving theological landscape. In conclusion, while the Trinity is a deeply held belief for many Christians, it presents a logical paradox that challenges both reason and tradition. The historical development of this doctrine and its philosophical implications raise questions about its coherence within Christian theology. Ultimately, if something is logically contradictory, it cannot be true in the same way that 2 plus 2 cannot equal 5. The Trinity, as traditionally understood, seems to defy this basic principle of logic. Can faith justify belief in the logically impossible?